one of the things my boss at the time said to me was, she looked me right in the eyes and she said, "I don't care about your daycare situation."
Welcome, everyone, to Tired Parents Club, a safe place to share, laugh, vent, talk about the ups and downs of raising the littlest versions of ourselves. I'm your host, Kevin Pinto, and our other host, Miss Sierra Langford.
Hello.
Sierra, what are we talking about today?
All right. Well, today we are addressing a question that a lot of parents have to ask themselves. Do I go back to work after I have a baby, or do I stay at home?
Yeah, no, and it's a really hard decision, right? Again, we've talked about it, and me and my wife, we both work at the station, which is great. We had to decide if we were going to go to daycare or not. We didn't have a choice. We had zero choice. We just had to find the most affordable while doing so much research because you're scared, right? of
Yes.
daycare. I think
You really have to plan ahead, right? It's so competitive.
we do, yeah. We got lucky, and a lot of them, they're like, "Oh, we have a wait list, so we'll put you on a wait list. Let us know when you're 3 months out or something." So there's a little bit of that, and sometimes they had last minute openings. We decided, and then maybe a week, the one we really wanted opened up a spot, and we were like, you know what, let's just go with the other one. It's closer. That was another thing. It was closer where we lived, so that's another factor, right?
Location,
The price was where we wanted it to be.
cost.
So yeah, I mean, we put Lila in immediately, and sometimes you just have no choice. We don't have family either, right? So we had to make that decision. I don't know what your situation is.
Oh man, in my head, I had said I'm going to go back to work. When the time came, it was really difficult, emotionally for me. I got 12 weeks, maternity leave. And so, when the time came to finally take him into school, I struggled. I really struggled. I did not want to come back. Financially though, and I know a lot of couples have this discussion financially, when we did the numbers and we broke it all down, it made sense for us, for both of us, to continue working. But it was hard. It was definitely hard. I missed him. I like I said, I cried a lot that first week back at work. I think as he got older, it got easier. And now it's just, it's a part of my everyday life where I go into work and he goes into school. And I've actually met a lot of mom friends through him going to school. So that's been great. You kind of, like you mentioned, you don't have family here.
Yeah.
We also don't have family here in Charlotte. So your friends kind of become your close support group and your family.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happened with us. We have a really good friend support group, and I'm not saying, I'm completely over it. I think it's like, can be a roller coaster sometimes with your emotions, right? Ebbs and flows. So some days you have really good days and really good drop-offs where they're really happy and excited to see their friends, and then you have days where the drop-offs are not great, and they're screaming and crying, and you looking at the clock.
Lila's great all the time,
and you gotta leave, and that happens too. So I won't sit here and pretend it's all perfect. It's definitely not.
Do you think if you had 2 or 3 kids that you would consider staying at home?
I don't know.
Because a lot of daycares is per kid, right? So you're paying, let's say, $300 per kid a week. Now you're $900. Is that worth?
I do think,
money wise,
I do think it would be a conversation that me and my husband would have, and I think every couple would go through this, as you kind of sit down and you crunch the numbers and you look at your bills and you look at what you both make and you decide what's worth it.
Yeah.
As a family, to continue working, or does it make sense to have one parent stay home and be with the kids?
No, it's true. Again, looking at it, we're looking at all the research that I've looked at least. It's 300 to 400 on average a week per kid, right? And talking
Very
a bunch
expensive.
Mine's $260. I'm really lucky. $260 is affordable. It gives us a reason to come back to work.
Is that in Mecklenburg County?
Yeah, that's literally in West Charlotte. So, and we did a lot of research on the place. We're like, $260, is that place safe? We did a lot of research, and it is. They have 5-star.
You do the whole tour.
Yeah, we did the whole tour. And we met the teachers. We call them teachers. I don't know. That's how I think of it as school still.
They do.
They are teachers.
They are teachers. They do have to go through training and have certain requirements to work there.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so there's some numbers that I was reading since 1990. I know that's really far away, but cost of daycare and childcare is up 263%, which is nuts. Obviously, the burden to stay at home is usually on the mother. That one's 82% usually on the mother. Some of the reasons is because of the pay gap. The father makes more, and that's one of the reasons. There's 30. They make 30% less than men, so that's a whole nother other problem, right?
Not only the cost of daycare, but the cost of living in general, right? I think is also a factor in families deciding if and when to even have children. That's a whole other can of worms.
Oh, for sure.
That, is discussed, because you're right. The cost of not only school, but the cost of living just keeps increasing. And that is going to affect your decisions.
And we talked about so that's since 1990, right? So that's pretty long. But
time.
Even in the 6 months from the beginning of this year, labor force participation for mothers with young kids fell by 2.8%. Might not seem like a lot, but that's the largest decline in 40 years. So it's very common, right? It is happening. So yeah, no, it's a surprise, but it's not a surprise. But we're gonna bring somebody on. Her name is Shannon Close. She's actually a former reporter, and she's going to tell us she's a stay-at-home right now. And when we get back, she's going to tell us all about it. Welcome back to Tired Parents Club. I'm with Sierra, and today we're talking about daycare and stay-at-home moms. Sierra, who do we got today?
Hi, everyone. Today we have Shannon joining us. Before she was a stay-at-home mom, she was a reporter. And Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to talk to you. Can you get into just kind of the steps that initially got you into deciding to become a stay-at-home parent? And, we promised on the show we would address every aspect of parenthood, and staying at home is definitely one I know a lot of parents wish they could do. So we're so eager to talk to you. And again, can you just break down what led you to this decision?
Yeah, for sure. So I feel like for every parent, it's probably a little bit different if you don't have it planned, which for me it wasn't. I did my maternity leave, and then I went back to work, I would say for about a month. And it was just like for my family, we just kind of figured out right away, it was just not going to work. We don't have family locally where we are. In the beginning, the plan was my husband would do some days at home. I would do some days at home, and we kind of work from home as best we could. But when I got back from my 3-month maternity leave, whole company had changed. Everything I was doing, my duties completely changed. So right then and there, we were like, okay, we got to figure something out. And daycare, which was, a thought of ours, here in Tampa, most moms apply when they're pregnant, like right when they find out they're pregnant. The wait lists are like a year, 2 years for some. So that was kind of off the books. We don't have family here. And, at the time for me personally, my management just kind of wasn't the family friendly management that you would hope to have. So I kind of just made the decision with my husband one day. We were like, this just isn't doable. And we also looked at the cost of some daycares that would maybe get us in right away. And it was like, I don't really understand what the point of me going to work is, unless it's just me wanting to go to work. And the new hours I had were 8 to 8. So I really would have never seen my son Monday through Friday.
Whew,
And
8 to 8?
Yeah, I just kind of had to put priorities,
That is a long day.
Yeah, he would have barely woken up, and then he would have been asleep by the time I got home. So yeah, my priorities, like becoming mom, really shifted. Like the moment I had him. Even pregnancy, I kind of didn't, it's in this blur of, oh, like a newborn, he'll just sleep and I'll work, but it's not quite how it is.
Well,
No.
and the cost is a big thing, right? We did talk about earlier the cost of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I guess, everyone thinks that reporters, we make all this money, everyone in the news industry, right? Imagine having 2 or 3 kids, right? I mean, the cost, it wouldn't, I mean, go to work, it wouldn't have mattered, right?
No, it would be something that you would want to do, and for me, I was a news reporter for 10 years and it was always my dream. And I felt like I fulfilled that dream and I was like, all right, it's time to move on to my next chapter in life, whatever that might bring.
Do you think it'll be harder to go back in the workforce someday, right? Or is that the goal? As Roland gets older, right? I think about
Yeah.
that. You have that resume gap. Do you think that's
Yeah.
that's gonna factor into decision making? Whether someone's gonna be like, oh well, you're raising your kids, so we'll give you a break, or do you think it'll be harder?
I've thought about that and I mean, it's probably got to be a little bit harder, you would imagine, but I've kind of done a little bit of research and it looks like there's like a lot of moms out there that do this and they kind of call it like a pause. You stay home until they get to school and then you go back and for me personally, I know what I was doing before news reporting, just it's not going to be the path I return to. Everyone says when he goes to school, you can return to it, but you all will know. I mean, we work every holiday there is. Maybe you get one off. And now that you have kids, I mean, if you celebrate Christmas, that's something that's special that you want to be there for. Every holiday where you get the family together. So for me personally, I know news won't be it, but I've been doing photography on the side and maybe doing something of my own business. And I would have never thought of doing that if it wasn't for having my son.
That's true. So I guess yeah. I mean, you get motivated to do something else, right? Which is
Yeah.
you wouldn't have been pushed to do otherwise, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, me and my wife's a videographer here as well, so we were both
Okay.
videographers here, right? So she had to come back immediately. Like we're like, there's no way we need the money.
Yeah.
And our cost is relatively cheap compared to everybody else too. But I mean, if we had 2 or 3 kids, I mean, I wouldn't mind being a stay-at-home father. Actually, no, I don't know if I want to take care of 3 kids. She could take care of the 3 kids and stay at home or whatever. It'd be a discussion, right? But it's
Yeah.
definitely something that's on the rise, I feel like.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too because my husband and he was like, I don't really care what it is. I need to go back to work because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing at home with him. He's like, I love him to death, but it's hard. He was like, it's draining, it's tiring, and he was like, it's just I'm not cut out to be a stay-at-home dad. He was like, if you're comfortable with it, it would work for our family, but he was like, I get if you're not because you go to work and you know what you're doing. You've been doing it for 10 years. He was like, you get a lunch break. There's no lunch breaks at home when you've got him here.
We don't get lunch breaks in the news.
That's true.
Well, and going off what you're saying, Shannon, you really point to what a lot of mothers go through when they come back from maternity leave, which is really sometimes an identity crisis, right?
Oh,
You've known yourself one way for so long, especially if you're a really career-driven person, and then now you become a mother and you've got this person that you are responsible for and you love so much, and then you have to leave them and go back to work and you're not the same. You're not the same person that you were before you had your baby. So I can completely relate to that. You saying going back for a month and you realizing in your heart where you knew you needed to be. And I think a lot of mothers can relate to that that feeling of being conflicted and torn and having that like, well, who am I? What am I doing? Moment for sure. Can you go into, now that you've been a stay-at-home mom for is it over a year now, right?
yeah, yeah. It would be about a year. Yeah, over a
Wow.
year.
So can you go over just I guess what's the most rewarding part of getting to be with your little man all day?
I would Yeah, I would say, it's like seeing every little thing he does, and, just experiencing everything I can with him, is pretty special. I understand for, the moms who are at work who are like, "Oh, I don't wanna miss the first steps." It's just whatever works for you, but being able to be home with him, doing things like taking him to the aquarium or the library and just, like, seeing how he interacts and I'm always finding myself like snapping pictures or videos for my husband because he's not there. And telling him the stories. Oh, he did this today. Like he's never done this before. And he's like, oh, that's new. So seeing those new things firsthand special. Um,
Mhm.
so that's been special for me.
Yeah, seeing all those milestones for sure. Has he I'm trying to think. How many months is he?
He's 14 months.
14? Has he started taking those first steps?
Oh no. Not over here. He'll like kind of stand, but that boy is a fast crawler and he's like, this is comfortable for me. So I'm waiting on the day because he's getting very heavy.
Oh my gosh. Well, Shannon, thank you so much. We're gonna take a break here real quick. We'll come back and we'll ask you some more stuff. Stay with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Tired Parents Club. Today we have Shannon with us, who is a tired stay-at-home mom. And Shannon, one question that I've been dying to ask you is being a stay-at-home mom. I know even during when you're home on maternity leave, it's a lot of time with the baby, right? And sometimes you crave that adult interaction, right? So what do you or your spouse do to kind of get out there and maybe still see other adults or other moms with kids, or how does it go?
She joins
in
programs like
in
this
your
one, so,
household?
so that way she can interact with people. Yeah.
Yeah, this is my me time. Yeah, it's really tough. My husband travels 3 days a week. So like in those days, it's just me and him, unless we get out to like maybe the library. That might be my socialization with another mom. But my husband and I are pretty good with each other. If I've been watching him all week, he'll be like, go out there, like grab dinner with your friends, grab coffee, do what you need to do. And, I'll do the same too. If I notice he's been watching him nonstop for me while I might be out there. We give each other some time, but honestly, it's hard, like, because we want to spend time, the three of us. So I find that my social life has definitely decreased quite a bit. But I mean, the other end of it is that I have him, which is like he's like my new little bestie.
I feel like it also depends on how much you want to make that work, right? If you want to make the time for a social life, then it's going to take sacrifice just like anything else. So I understand that. And then sometimes I end up, I pick up softball or something like that just to get out for an hour, and that's all I need, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I get that. So do you recommend, sorry,
Sorry.
do you recommend being a stay-at-home parent? Do you feel like you're not missing out on as much, or do you think that I'm missing out on stuff because we put our kid into daycare so early?
It's so hard to say, because I have a bunch of friends who we all had babies in the same year. For example, my sister,
That's how it
I chose
goes,
to
huh?
stay home, and yeah, she had a baby 2 months ahead of me. So and she's in New York, but she went, right back to work after her maternity leave, and part of her felt like she was ready to get out of the house and ready to put on real clothes and makeup and kind of socialize with her coworkers. And then part of her feels she's like, should I be home? Should I be with him? But for her, financially right now, like the decision is to be at work. Um, and it's just so different. I have a best friend, she's in Georgia. And, for her, she was like, I want to be at work, like I love what I do and I want to return and I want to be mom too. And I'm gonna do both. And I know for some it's possible for sure. Um, I just think when it comes down to it, for me, like what I would tell other moms, especially like when you're returning to work, is just make sure that your management is family friendly. I think if you have that, if you have support from work, I think you can do it all. Um, for me, that wasn't there. I had a whole daycare kind of situation. We were like, should we throw him in daycare? And I'll just, we'll go right to it. And we couldn't figure it out. And one of the things my boss at the time said to me was, she looked me right in the eyes and she said, I don't care about your daycare situation. And
Mm.
I said, well, consider this my 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah,
but
decision was much easier.
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I figured out,
Blame you.
you gotta do what's, best for your family, I think. And I think it looks different for every single family. You know, your wife works for news too. So you guys have a very unique situation. From someone who's worked in news, I understand. I mean, that's probably a little harder for you too. My husband travels. It wasn't quite easy for me either, but everyone's spouse works a different job. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't think I have an answer for that
And
one.
luckily, they've been a little bit more flexible with us. It's
Good.
Jenna's more of a videographer daily, right? And then I do this producing kind of with this half photog. So
Yeah.
and we're a half an hour difference as far as our hours. So and they've done that for us, right? Just it's a half an hour. Like, what's the big deal? But for us, that's a huge deal, right? 'Cause
100%.
she can drop Lila off and I can go pick her up. And that's how we manage it. And then we have the nights, with Lila, and we don't feel like we're missing out on anything. But reporters, you could be night side and I could be a photog on day side, and it would be way more difficult.
But you're exactly right. If you don't have that support from work, it makes it extremely difficult.
Well, it's not just that; it's family too, right? It's a both. There's so much. We don't have family near us, If you have family, that makes things all so much easier.
Yeah,
So yeah,
my
support
mom
works
watches
for
my
us.
sister's baby,
Mhm.
full time, so she doesn't pay for daycare. Um, and I think another thing with people too is like, if you have family and you daycare, the baby's sick, that's another thing. Baby can't go to daycare sick, so someone's got to be home. Someone's job's a little bit sacrificed.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother episode we're gonna do, actually talking about it, because we were also just recently all sick, and I came in the half days and just stayed in my own thing. Sierra just avoided me at all costs because she did not want to get sick.
Nope.
And you know how newsrooms are. We all just get sick. I think it's
Yeah,
something still
baby
going on.
gets sick too. I'm learning we all get sick.
Yeah, we're nuts.
Yeah.
Sarah, what else you got?
Do you have any, I guess, challenges with being a stay-at-home mom? I know you said your husband is out traveling a lot, so I imagine that can make things hard sometimes. Is there anything that really sticks out to you that you didn't realize, like, oh, this is maybe harder than I thought it was? Or
Yeah. I even like the first thing that popped in my head is like this week when he was gone, my baby just kept waking up in the night and he was like, I believe it was his teeth, but with the babies, you never know. Like he just couldn't sleep and he looked like he was in a lot of pain. And I'm like, well, should I give him the Tylenol? Like, is that a good idea? How much Tylenol do I give? Like, you have to make all these decisions kind of on your own. It was in the middle of the night, he's elsewhere sleeping, and it's not something, I necessarily emergency to wake him up for, but yeah, you're kind of stuck by yourself sometimes. And that's why whenever I'm alone with him too, I just think of like single moms or single dads, and my heart goes out to them because it's difficult. And it's difficult just even some days, like some weeks when I have him like completely through the week, just me and him. I love him more than anything, but it's draining and it's exhausting. And at some points, like right now, the stage he's in, he's 14 months. Like if you turn around for 30 seconds, like something in his mouth, and I'm like, what was that? Like I can't turn around for 30 seconds. My husband's traveling, and last night I was like, please just come home just so I could take a shower. There's
Oh my
like
gosh, the shower thing is real. Yes. Oh my gosh.
thing.
Yeah, you're just
And it's
fighting over
really
shower time. That's so true. I've learned that. I'm 5 months, and Lila's 5 months, so I'm learning all that stuff too. The shower thing is hilarious to me. It's like that.
shower is your haven.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I
Do
had
not-
like 5 minutes
do
to
not disturb.
shower. If you play softball, your wife will let you go shower apparently. So, that's how I sneak mine
That's
in.
your trick.
Yeah. I'm gonna go play softball. All right, cool. Make sure you shower. I'm not letting you get into bed and all sweaty and stuff. So I guess we're wrapping it up here. But do you suggest it to anyone who's being a stay-at-home parent? Do you suggest it to anybody?
I do. I would say, if your situation would allow for it, um, it it really is like such a learning experience for you and your baby. And yeah, I think it's taught me so much. It's taught me patience. It's taught me like, before I was a mom, before I had him, I was like, oh, stay-at-home moms, well, how easy. Like, what an easy life they have. They don't work. And it's like, no, you're working 24/7, but it's like the most rewarding work you'll ever do. And I know you guys know that because you do it while working, which I know is not easy. So, if your situation allows, I would say, yeah, you should.
Sweet. Well, thank you, Shannon, so much for your insight. And we appreciate your time. So we'll say bye to you guys
Thank you
for
so
now.
much.
And then everybody, thank you us for joining us on Tired Parents Club. We'll see you guys next time.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.